Welcome to part 7 of setting up the blacksmithing shop. Now I haven't got time for an intro, so I'm just going to dive straight in and get on with it. Let's do this! Ugh, Jesus, slippery. Well, the snow didn't last long. I will never fail to be impressed by what fits in the back of this thing. I'm sure this is absolutely fine. Well, that'll be it for the Great British Blizzard of 2020. So since you saw this thing last, I've literally not done a single thing to it other than I have epoxied in the bolts at the very bottom there. Other than that, it is as it was left. So let's go and get the stuff out of the car. Right. I think that's everything. Now I've just got to figure out where I'm going to start on this thing. Right, I think logically I need to start off where I left off, which is the roof. I was going to buy the sort of wavy corrugated plastic, but instead I've gone for this stuff, which is similar to the sort of thing I've got on the roof of the lean-to over there. It seems to be a lot stronger, and the gated stuff they had available in the shop was really sort of flimsy and cheap, and I think in strong wind it would either come down or break, so I've decided to go with something a bit more sturdy. So, first thing I need to do, I need to get these two middle beams screwed down because I left those loose. I don't know if you can see, they're still not attached. So yeah, let's measure it up and space them out equally. Right then, skipping forward a little bit, that's got this one and this one all bolted on. So next. Originally what I was going to do is I was going to screw through the roofing into these beams, each of these. However, considering how windy this country is, I kind of like the idea of putting something across the back as well. So I've bought a few of these small treated timber pieces and I'm going to chop them to length and I'm going to insert them between each beam so that they'll be flush with the top. And then I can bolt all the way around in a rectangle on each of these sections. So, let's chop these pieces to shape. Right, that's got all these pieces in. I've had to sort of stagger them in order to actually get the bolts through. So I know it looks a bit odd, but it's a compromise in order to create a good structure. So I'm happy with it. I think before I get the roof on, the next thing I'm going to do is where this gap is at the back, I want to build like a bit like this fence panel actually, sort of overlapping rather, pieces of wood so that any water that would blow in from this direction will run off down the side. I won't lie to you, putting these planks up absolutely sucks because it is such an awkward angle. Because obviously it goes over to my neighbour's garden and I don't really think they'd be too keen on me going over there. I'm having to reach over to do this and these planks are very heavy and it's such an awkward angle. I'm not actually sure how I'm going to do this one. Well, as you can probably tell, it's a fair bit later. I'm afraid my camera battery died, but I should really be embarrassed about that craftsmanship, but I'm really not. That was super tricky. I'll probably just tidy up the edge with a saw later, but at least it's up and at least it's done, and hopefully it'll serve its purpose. Now, unfortunately, I'm losing the light, so I'm going to be leaving it there for the day. To be continued tomorrow. So, I think before I start worrying about the roof too much, I want to try and get rid of some of this sideways wobble. There's not an awful lot, but there's enough there that if I'm sawing or something on the workbench, it's going to wobble around a bit. So, speaking to my girlfriend, who is a structural engineer, she thinks if I put one post going from this corner up, and then I brace it zigzag, similar to this one at the bottom here, that'll be enough to get rid of the wiggle. So, I'm going to chop another one of these fence posts to fit between here, and then I'm going to brace it. We'll see how that goes. Alright, got it measured up, got it in place, now just need to screw it all together, and then we'll worry about the bracing. Alright, there we go, that's got the side support on, and as you can now see, that has got rid of a lot of the wobble. So that's a success. I think I'm just going to add a couple more of these thin braces just on the middle here, and then I can actually get started on the main roof. There we go, middle support's done, exactly the same way as they were on either end. I think now we can probably start sizing up the roof. Although, again, I'm starting to lose the light, so I may end up doing it tomorrow. We'll see. Right, I think we're going to be leaving it there. I've lost all light and it's bleeding cold. Right, it's very early. I'm hoping if I get cracking on this right now, then I can finish it by the end of the day. So, let's do it. Roof! Right, that's got either end secured. Now we just got to work on the middle ones. Right, that's got the first sheet screwed down as much as I'm going to for now. As you can see, I've left this edge unattached for the moment, and that's because there's a connector that goes between the two. Right, that's got the connector fitted up. That was not easy. Now I've just got to cut it to size, and then, yeah, carry on. There we go, that's got panel 1 now all done with the connector in situ, ready for the next one. Because this stuff has holes in the end, I need to get some aluminium tape to put across this, and then some more of some C-channel, which I put along that side. You can see it running all the way along. And then I dropped the rest into my neighbour's garden, and I can't be bothered to go and get it. But I need 2 more strips to go all the way along each end anyway. And then I'll probably get one to go all the way along the other end just to make it look tidy. Nice bit of trim. But yeah, I think that's going to be sufficient. I might have gone a bit overboard on the screws. You are supposed to waterproof these, but to be honest, they create such a good seal anyway with these little cups. I don't think any moisture's really going to get in, and what will be inconsequential anyway. So, yeah. Like I say, on this end I'm going to be using aluminium tape, but on the other end I'm going to be using what's called breather tape, which will allow moisture out, so if anything gets trapped inside here, it'll stop it from steaming up or moulding long term, but it won't let any moisture in, so I've got to go and get some of that as well. Well, I'm back from the store with supplies. I've got the aluminium tape and the breather tape, and I've got some more of the C-sections, so let's install all of that. There we go, there's the aluminium tape on one side, and there's the breather tape along the other side. Now you might have thought, wouldn't this be a lot easier to put on before you put the roof panel up? The simple answer is yes. Yes, it would have been. Well, it's a couple of hours later, but we have now finished the roof, and I must admit, I'm pretty pleased with how that came out. I think what I'm going to do next, before I start working on the actual bench, is I'm going to put some guttering up, and then the plan is I want the rainwater feeding into a water tank so we can feed our plants, because obviously, yeah, they look really healthy right now. There we go, that's got the guttering up and at the right angle. Now obviously I've got to trim it down and install this end cap thingy. So the logical thing to do would be to take it down in order to trim it down, but I can't be bothered, so I'm going to chop it while it's up there. Even though it's probably going to take twice as long and be twice as difficult. Actually, that wasn't too bad. There we go. Well, that was good timing. I have just got all the guttering and water butts sorted, and it's just started to rain. So I guess this will be as good a time as any to find out whether the roof leaks. Next step will be to work on the actual workbench at long last. I've just moved the timbers into the shelter for now, because there's still ice on some of them. I don't think I'm going to do this today. I'm pretty tired. That roof took a lot longer than I thought, so again, I'll be back at it tomorrow. So much for finishing it off today. Still plenty to do. So it's the next morning. First thing I'm going to do is add some supports to the bottom rungs here and here, and that's going to allow for this top bar to rest along the top here. So let's screw those in. Right, before I get too carried away screwing this guy down, I'm going to cut out some supports to go along the inside, something for the workbench to rest on. But because I need to screw them in from this direction, before I screw this down, I'm going to measure these up, screw them in this side, and then fit the whole thing into place so I can secure it on this side as well. So, let's measure these up and chop them to length. Okay. That's close. Right, that's got the work surface prepped. Now it's time to start laying these planks. First one in place. Now we've just got to do that 4 more times. Actually, before I screw this down, I'm going to screw this piece of wood to run along the back. That way it'll act as a bit of a backstop if anything were to roll off the edge of the bench. So for this last plank, somewhere along the line I've made a miscalculation, because as you can see, it now impinges the door from opening. So I'm going to need to get out the circular saw and chop a strip off along this edge, which is going with the grain, which is never good. God, at this rate I'm going to be here till next Christmas. Oh, thank Christ for that. There we go, that's got the bench top all finished up. Now you might have noticed at the back, the plank of wood doesn't go all the way along. 2 reasons for that. 1, that's the piece of wood I had to hand. And number 2, it's time to put something in this corner which will take up that space. What are you doing? Cool. So with the sandblaster now in its permanent home, the regulator, as you can see, and the moisture trap is right hidden down the side there. So I'm going to disconnect it from the side of the case, and I'm probably going to screw it up on the wood here somewhere so I can actually see the dial. And it'll make plugging it in and out to the air much easier as well. So let's do that next. There we go. There we are, just like that. Nice and out of the way, but clearly visible and easily adjustable. I'm also going to do the same thing with the regulator from the back of the power cutter, and I'm going to mount it on the wall just here. So again, I've got easy access to it. So let's drill some holes. There we are. Well, as you can probably tell, I've done a fair bit of rejigging in here. It is currently inaccessible and a total mess. I've got to chop the bar here out and get rid of this shelf. As you can see, I've cleared it out. I've got all the hoses and all the power running down the back there. And then I need to move the air compressor to under the bench once all of that's out of the way. So let's get to angle grinding this piece of steel off. Well, that came out easier than expected. Now we need to try and get the compressor under here, which I think is going to be very tricky. Oh, it's airtight. It'll be alright once it's under. It's just catching on this bar. Hopefully the plastic will give enough for it just to go with it. Go on! You're so close. Yeah, there we go. Yes. Oh, those things are heavy. Right, we're in. Oh, finally, air compressor in place where it should be, out of the way, and I finally feel like I've got room to move in this workshop again. I've already plumbed in the plasma cutter air. That was easy, and I've got the other line running just down there. And now the next step is to drill a hole through this wall so we can run the air through to the sandblaster, which you can just about see through the crack in the door there. Well, I've just got back from walking the doggies, and I think I'm going to do the last job of the day. As you can see, I bought a couple of little LED spots, and that's enough for the moment. In fact, let's pop this one on as well. Just give you best chance as possible of seeing. Inside the sandblasting cabinet, it came with this horrible foam seal, which was not sealing. It was creating a leak. So I bought some of this stuff, which is just a sort of cushioned seal, and I've just been going around the outside, and I'm hoping a combination of the two will be enough to stop the leak. So I'll finish that up, and that'll be it for today. Like so. Now I've just got to hope the lid still shuts. I think we're going to be okay. Yeah, that feels much more secure now. So hopefully there will not be any more leakage. Okay, I changed my mind. This is the last thing I'm going to be doing tonight. I bought this little cabinet a while ago. I think it's meant to be an electric box. And I'm going to be installing that on the wall up here. As you can see, I've already drilled the holes. I just hope I put them in the right place. So let's install that. Well, that went smoother than expected. Nice. Okay, this is the last thing I'm doing tonight. Want to see how to ruin a perfectly good hole saw? Next morning, I've got the hole all drilled, going all the way through. It's time to start feeding all the cables through to the other side. I've got the air compressor charged up, so I've been using the just the standard air blower fitting, just to tidy up all the dust. Now, like I said, when the motor kicks in on this thing, it's very loud. In fact, it says 97 decibels. But again, like I mentioned in my last video, I've come up with an ingenious solution for reducing the noise, which I will demonstrate for you now. So first things first, I'm going to blow out a load of air. There we go, generator's kicked in. As you can tell, nice and loud, but I will now demonstrate my ingenious solution for reducing the noise. You ready? It's called a door. Right, it's time to start tucking these cables through the hole, and hopefully they all fit. Right, I think that has got everything all plumbed in. We've got air, the positive and the negative cables going through the wall for the plasma cutter. And, oh, we've got a leak somewhere. I can see something hissing. Is this one? There we go, a bit temperamental, need to tighten that a bit. But yeah, that's now all plumbed into the sandblaster. So I think it's time we probably had a bit of a play. What I've got the negative clamp and the air running out of the bottom of the cabinet here, and then when I'm not using the plasma cutter tip, that's going to be stored away inside here to keep it dry and away from moisture. So, I'm curious, let's see if this thing works. Right then, this will be my first time actually using the plasma cutter. When I first set it up, I spent ages fiddling about with this thing because there seems to be a problem with the airflow, so I was mucking around with the regulator, I was mucking around with the head, I was mucking around with the compressor. Turned out there was a kink in the hose. Anyway, let's give this thing a try. Well, it certainly seems to cut. Nice. Hopefully, now that I'm done playing with it, this should roll up and, with any luck, fit nicely in the cupboard here. Fingers crossed. A little bit tight, but it does indeed fit. Nice. Well, now that we've had a play with the plasma cutter, let's try out the sandblaster. I'm using the same piece of steel that I just plasma cut. Let's see how well this works. Let's find a good rusty bit. I'm sure the compressor will kick in soon, but this seems to be working an absolute charm. Interestingly enough, it's actually very difficult in this light to see through the cabinet without a light on, so it's actually easier for me to look at the screen on my phone, because now I can see what you can see right here. So, it's one way of doing it, I guess. Especially if I zoom in. Be a bit like a microscope. That's meant to be a thumbs up. So I think the last thing I want to do for this workbench is I want to add like a tiny little plasma cutting platform. Obviously the grounding clamp, it's got a fairly short cable unfortunately, unlike the torch which is 4 meters, this one was only I think 2, so it doesn't reach much further than that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to run some steel, might use this, might use something else, probably along the underside of the table here, and then I want like a little fold out, like I say, platform to plasma cut on. Normally when you see them, they're like a sort of grill, and I couldn't really find anything overly suitable. And then, I'm sure I'm probably breaking some kind of law by doing this, but oh well. It was dumped in a bush, and I can't ever imagine the supermarket was going to get it back. And unfortunately, I've got no way of knowing which supermarket it belongs to, because I'm facing the wrong way, and I can't read what's put on the handle, unfortunately. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop this piece off here, and just have that as like a fold-out. Because even if I'm chopping big pieces of steel, I can rest it on the rest of the workbench, and just concentrate the cutting on this section here. So, let's chop this off. Hang on a second. So I thought I was being all clever by using the hinged bit of the trolley, but Muggins here didn't account for the fact that the ends are plastic and it's insulating this grill. So I'm going to burn these bits of plastic off and just have it hanging loose. That was really dumb. Well, having burned out that bit of plastic, it's now very loose and wobbly, so unfortunately I think I need to come up with a new plan and start again. Right, that's got rid of that. I just realised I didn't actually show you what I came up with. So I put a piece of angle iron underneath this side and obviously screwed it in from the front, and then I just ran some rebar along with a 90-degree bend, hooking onto the negative clamp there. So this part I'm probably going to keep. I think honestly guys, I'm probably going to leave the video here, have a think and come up with an idea for this. The video's getting crazy long as it is. And it's not the be all and end all, I can still just use the workbench for now, so I'll have a think and then one day something will probably just appear here once I've come up with a plan. Well guys, I think I'm going to be leaving the video there. Thanks a lot for watching, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, all the normal blah blah blah, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, bye bye. From now on, you can call me the Plasma Blaster. Or you can call me Mr. Pajama Flip Flop.